You're listening to the Business of African Fashion podcast with Victory. This is an online community where we teach passionate entrepreneurs how to build and maintain profitable fashion businesses while connecting with other fashion entrepreneurs. Get ready to be empowered with actionable strategies that can be applied to your business today. Let's start the show. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Business of African Fashion podcast. It's Victory, and I hope that you are having a great week wherever you are. Thank you all so much for the feedback on the previous episode. I really appreciate hearing your feedback, hearing your origin stories, and just overall interacting with you all. So this is a new episode, and on today's episode, I'm going to be talking about basic accounting for fashion businesses. So this episode isn't going to cover every single thing accounting related 100% because, that would be a lot. But I do want to do this as kind of a series. So I'm probably going to call this part 1, and then we'll probably have more episodes going over just pockets of accounting that I believe is important for fashion entrepreneurs to be aware of. As you know, or you may not know, my background is actually in accounting. I have a bachelor's in accounting, and I'm currently studying to take the CPA exams. And my aim for really creating this platform, the Business of African Fashion, is to focus on the financial aspects of building a fashion business. Because what I noticed when I was doing research is that a lot of the information and education that's out there right now about a fashion company or a fashion business, it focuses a lot on maybe, the runway show or how to get your name into big retail stores or how to work with bigger brands. But nobody in my experience is really talking about the financial knowledge that you need to have in order to build a fashion business or even any business at all. So that's why I decided to start this podcast and, overall to start this platform is to really use my skills coming from an accounting background to educate and also to shed more light, to have more people talking about what it really takes for a fashion business to keep the lights on, what the bills are, what the expenses are, and the overall financial strategy of maintaining, building, and scaling a fashion business. So before I jump into the episode, a couple of church announcements. First thing is I do have an email list. So please click the link in the show notes, or if you also go to our Instagram bio, there's the link to sign up for that. I would love to have you as part of the email list. The email list just gives you updates about the episodes, any new insights that I am thinking about, books I'm reading, what I'm listening to, and just resources that can help you overall in building your fashion business. And another huge perk of being part of the email list is that you'll be the first ones to find out when the African Fashion Entrepreneur Society launches. As you know, one of the aims of the Business of African Fashion platform is also to create a community for African fashion entrepreneurs. So if you join the email list, you can be assured that you'll be the first to find out about when the society is available to join. So again, check the show notes or check the link in our Instagram bio to sign up for the email list. All right, so let's talk accounting. Dun dun dun. I'm just kidding. So, first of all, I want to acknowledge that, accounting and finances, to a lot of people, it can sound daunting. And I definitely understand that. I think that the education system, as much as they touch on finances, they may not have done the best job of going into details as far as personal finance or even finance for businesses. So I do want to acknowledge that I don't expect you at all to know everything that is related to accounting. And before we even get into that, right, let's take a step back. Let's take a deep breath just to calm ourselves before we get into the topic that is accounting. All right, you're ready? Okay, inhale and exhale. All right. So I understand that accounting can be daunting, and I just want you to keep an open mind and be open and willing to learn and know that you're probably not going to become an expert at accounting, right? But if you're going to build a business, it's better that you understand the basics or even have a good understanding of it because you come in handy when you're making your decisions. It's definitely going to be something that you want to have knowledge about as far as doing the finances of your company, right? You don't want to hire an accountant and you as the business owner, you don't have any knowledge. That would be opening yourself up to a lot of, risk, the potential of getting manipulated or, not being completely informed about what's going on in the finances of your business, right? So what people say is that accounting is the language of business. So I want you to think about it this way, that if you were going to a different country, let's say you're traveling to let's say you're traveling to a French speaking African country, right? And you're trying to do business there, but you don't speak a word of French and you don't have an interpreter, it might be challenging for you when you get to that country to be able to get a taxi, to be able to go to the market, even to be able to check into your hotel. It might be difficult for you, right? So if you're traveling to a country where you don't speak the language, ideally what you would want to do is learn the language, right? Learn maybe basic terms like hello, hi, what's the time, or where am I, just basic things, right? And same for accounting. Accounting is the language of business. And if you're going to do business and you don't know how to speak the language, you probably will find it challenging as you go on. So as you're in the early stages of your business, it's going to be really nice and convenient for you to learn accounting as much as you can. And I have 3 points today of this thing that I'm calling basic accounting for fashion businesses. So the first point is that the basic accounting equation is A equals L plus E, which basically means assets equals liabilities plus equity. Victory. What does that mean? So basically, picture it like this. The letter A equal to L plus E. So my very first accounting class, I think my professor walked in and basically wrote this on the board. I was like, this is basic accounting equation. If you know this equation, you know accounting, right? So I guess congratulations to you. You know this equation, so you know accounting. But now let me explain what that actually really means. A stands for assets, right? And what do assets mean? So assets are basically everything that your company owns. So if you were a fashion company and you do your own manufacturing, your assets would include your sewing machines, your steamers, your scissors, your fabric, your cutting table, things of that nature would be your assets, right? And your liabilities are whatever your company owes or the obligations that you need to pay in the future to keep the company running. While equity can be defined two ways. Equity can either be, you can also just say is assets minus total liabilities, or you can say that shareholders' equity is what other people own in your business if other people are involved, which in that term they will be called shareholders. Or if you're the sole owner, then it would be what you've invested into your company. But we're not going to get too deep into shareholders' equity because it can be confusing for someone who's just starting out. But just remember that A equals L plus E. So to give you a practical example of what that would look like, if you think about the totality of your assets, all the assets you have in your company, like I said before, like the sewing machines, the steamers, the irons, all of that stuff, right? You either purchased it one of two ways. Either you put money into your business to purchase that, which would be equity, or you borrowed money, you took a loan from someone in order to be able to purchase those assets, right? So if you think about one side of the equation, assets, which is all of the items that you have in your company, like your sewing machines, that is equal to either you took out debt, which is a liability because you have to pay it back, or you as a business owner put money into the company, which is equity. It's going to be one or the other. So if we look at that equation again now, and we say, I have a sewing machine that I paid 500,000 naira for. So that means your A is 500,000 naira. And on the other hand, you borrowed money from someone to be able to buy that sewing machine. So that means that your L also has 500,000 naira. So you can see that the equation is balanced on both sides. And that's what in accounting they call double entry system. So I know that I've said a lot and you're probably like, I don't know if I want to continue listening to this episode, but I really encourage you to stick around with me. I'm not going too deep into this stuff, but this is the basics, and this is the basic accounting equation that will really help you understand what it means for your company to operate and what it means for your company to function properly, right? So, and then other examples of your assets can be like cash, it can be accounts receivable. So if you sold a dress to someone and they haven't paid you back, right, even though you've given them the dress, money that they're owing you, in accounting terms, it will be called accounts receivable because you're going to receive that money at a future date. So overall, the basic accounting equation just tells you that all the assets you have in your company, you've gathered them one of two ways. Either you collected liability in exchange for them, or you put equity in your company in exchange for them. So just keep that in mind as you're operating. So my second point, basic accounting for fashion businesses, is to have a financial plan. What's a financial plan? A financial plan basically is a plan that contains a person or a business's current money situation and goals, as well as the strategies with which you're going to achieve those goals. And a financial plan basically is kind of similar to a business plan, but it focuses a lot more on the financial aspect. So it's sitting down and saying, what do I want my company to look like financially in the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months? What goals do I want to achieve, right? So hypothetically, let's say this person called Adamu has a fashion company, and Adamu is thinking, what do I want my company to be doing in 6 to 12 months as far as sales go, right? Or as far as profits go? Because remember last episode, we talked about how, social media clout doesn't necessarily equate to sales. Sales don't necessarily equate to profit, and also profit don't necessarily equate to impacts, right? So if Adamu, as this business owner, is thinking, I want to make an impact of helping people in my community to be more comfortable wearing their traditional fabric. Let's say Ankara is a traditional fabric. All right, that's the impact. So now let's go back to the profit. How much profit do we want to make with that impact in mind? Let's say we want to make 20,000 naira in profit. So if we want to make 20,000 naira in profit, how much do we need to sell to be able to make 20,000 naira in profit? And to be able to figure out that, you also need to figure out what your expenses are. So then you say, okay, what does the Ankara cost? What about the thread? How about the tailors? How much salary are we going to pay them? What about the packaging for the outfits when they're sewn, the sewing, the delivery, transportation, all of that's good stuff that we call expenses. And then you need to go back to say, okay, if you want to make 20,000 in profit, how much would we need to sell when we take out all of these expenses that we just mentioned to be able to get to this 20,000? That's our profit goal, right? So thinking about this as someone who's just starting a business, it's remembering that every decision that you make is very important. And it's also very important for you to have a strategy before you go out and do something. So taking that step and saying, my impact is that I want more people to be confident in wearing Ankara, and then kind of tracing it back to the amount of profit, and then the amount of sales, knowing what your expenses are, that helps you to be steps ahead as far as your business and setting good foundations and, good policies and procedures that will sustain you in the long term versus, just saying we're just going to sell as many as we can. You have no idea of what your expenses are. You have no idea what your anticipated sales are going to be. So having a financial plan really helps you. It's like a big picture overview of where you're going. So if you're going to travel from the island to the mainland, or if you're going to move from the mainland to the island and you don't know the way, you don't have a map, you don't have Google Maps, you don't have GPS, you don't have anything, it'll be very difficult for you to have an idea of where you're going. So that's what financial plan is like. A financial plan is basically like that map that says, all right, we're trying to get from this place on the island to this other place on the mainland. Where do we need to turn? What steps do we need to take? What buses do we need to take? Do we need an Uber? Things of that nature. So a financial plan is very, very, very effective because it helps you create a roadmap for your money and it will help you achieve your goals. It can also answer questions like, where are we financially? Where do we want to be financially? And how do we get there, right? So it gives you a sense of direction. You'll be able to see that bigger picture in order to take better control of your business. Another thing I'll say about basic accounting for businesses is keeping records of everything that you do. So most of us have computers these days, and even if you don't, you can always use a pen and paper for this as well. And if you just open Google Docs or Word or whatever, or Excel, you can just say, okay, this is how much money is coming in and this is how much money is going out. I'm telling you, as an accountant, that's the basic thing of what financial statements are. At the at the foundational level, that's what they are. It's a record of how much is going out and how much is coming in. So you can really help yourself to maintain those records if you keep track of how much you're spending versus how much is coming in, maybe on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, so that at the end of the year, it's much more easier for you to look at that in order to make that financial plan for the next year. All right, and the third point, as far as basic accounting for someone starting a fashion business goes, is take a basic accounting class or accounting training in your area. If you have no knowledge of accounting, maybe you didn't take any accounting classes when you were in school, which is fine because not everybody does that. I would just maybe look for accounting classes in your area, accounting classes that you can participate in to learn the basics. And it will probably be easier because it's probably going to be something that's not too complicated, something that's for beginners. And again, it's just so that you're not completely in the dark when it comes to accounting for businesses because, like we said, it's the language of business. And if this is where you want to operate, and I believe that it would be a really good skill for you to know. I feel so blessed that I, studied accounting in university, but even then, it's not like I know it all, right? So even as someone who has a degree in accounting, I'm still constantly learning and learning how it applies to me and applies to my business specifically. So I think that if you keep an open mind and you're willing to learn something new, then it will be exciting for you. And I'm going to have more basic accounting episodes. I'll cover probably how to use accounting data to make decisions, maybe going into more details about what expenses are, giving examples of, what an expense is and how you can kind of figure that out in planning for your business, talking about joint costing, depreciation, manufacturing, all of these exciting topics we're going to be covering in later episodes. But I promise you, everything on this podcast won't be accounting. We're going to go into other areas as well. But again, I want us to bring the financial aspect of fashion businesses to the light as well. I believe that the more people talk about it, the more conversations we have, even when we're talking to people who have built successful fashion businesses, the more we can ask them about what the finances are looking like. I mean, as much as they're able to share comfortably, but asking them, how do you keep the lights on? How did you fund your business? How did you get the finances? Or what does your accounting look like day to day? Or what did your accounting look like when you first started out? I think having these conversations will give us, as people who are just starting our business, kind of something to look up to, examples to look at. Maybe they'll share some of their mistakes with us so that we can learn from that so we don't also make the same mistakes. So to wrap it up, basically, accounting is very important. It's the language of business. I know it can seem daunting if you have no prior knowledge of it, but I encourage you to keep an open mind and decide that, if I'm really passionate about building this company, if accounting is something that I have to know, I'll know as much as I can, and I'll be committed to employing maybe an accountant that has more knowledge than I do, but I don't want to be completely left in the dark. That can be a commitment that you make. Second point is to have that financial plan. It's a really good overall big picture of where you are right now and where you want to be financially. Third point is to keep records of everything. Just something basic. How much is coming in? How much is going out? Even if nothing is coming in right now, because let me tell you, when you first start, it's just money going out, money going out, money going out, and you're looking at your Excel like, why? Nothing is coming in. That's okay too. Eventually, something will come in. All right, so just keep the records if you can, because it will be very, very helpful for you in the future. And third point is to take a basic accounting class in your area. That will really help you learn in an organized environment and with other people. A resource I'll mention as far as accounting classes go is the Lagos Employment Trust Fund. They are at LSETF on Instagram. This isn't sponsored or anything. It's just been an organization that I've seen, and they're doing a lot of work as far as helping entrepreneurs in Lagos to build their businesses and giving knowledge, sharing resources and things of that nature. So definitely check them out. And please, if you know other platforms that share information, resources, training in accounting, please send them to me on Instagram so I can share with our community and so we can all just learn and develop ourselves and grow. And if you all specifically want me to do something that is a training in accounting, let me know as well, because I can put something together. But I want to know if it's something that you all want before I go ahead and make it. So send me a DM. You all have been really good about responding and giving information and sharing. So just send me a DM if you're interested in maybe an accounting class training. It's probably not going to be all comprehensive, but we can start taking first steps, right? And if you have any other resources of organizations that teach basic accounting for entrepreneurs, please be open to sharing with the community as well. All right, friends, that's everything for this episode. Again, please check the show notes for the link to join our email list, and I will see you all in the next episode. Bye.